What was it?
On the side, there's, yeah, on the side, there's a go live, there's a web option. So I was putting on, I must have changed the format.
If you're on the school board, there's something without that. How do we know we're all done?
I'm serious.
You're gonna make a motion, you're gonna make a few motions.
Have it around, so it's Yeah, it comes out, she was. It was for like a, well, I would say. Well, I checked the same thing, you checked that. Exactly.
The second.
Yeah, right.
Nine.
Everybody's here, everybody's here.
No, I agree with that.
I only get one take. We're doing it live. We're doing it live. Literally.
Tens of people are watching.
That would be a lot.
That might be a good turnout.
Yeah, that'd be.
I think most people watch the next day.
All right, I have 6 o'clock. So at this time, I will call the school board meeting for the school district of Glenwood City to order. Our roll call, all members present with the exception of Dr. Lisa Kaiser, who is absent tonight. We'll move to item C with our board financial audit. Joe, one of you wants to go first?
Yeah, I generally just ask to see the monthly bills payable and see if anything jumps. I went through it, and nothing really was there. Ready to go. So I didn't dig into it any deeper than that. So there are about 8 or 9 pages of the past month's expenses.
And I audited a couple of credit card reports, so Ms. Newman had walked me through the approval process where we fill out the expense form, we match that with the receipt. In addition to the original request of the spend amount, and it seemed like a very good process for having controls in place, but it's also very cumbersome because it's a lot of paper, and it sounds like Ms. Newman, no surprise, has some good ways to maybe improve that, so maybe looking forward to a better way and a more efficient way in the future.
So is there a piece of paper for every purchase made on the credit card?
More like 3 pieces of paper.
Okay, yeah,
Because
sure.
we've got the bill, we've
Yep.
got the invoice, we've got the expense form.
Yep.
And then we got everybody signing it, so it's
Yeah, yeah.
quite.
And is there 50, 60, 100 items on a credit card statement?
The ones I looked at, there was, probably 40.
Okay.
Yeah.
And everything was good?
Yep.
Okay, thanks for doing that. Appreciate it. Item D. I don't want to toot my own horn. I don't know. You guys, we talked about this, but Dr. Kaiser got it. Sure, let's talk. Who's going to do the board financial audit next time, Jody?
Jordan Barnes and Dr. Lisa Kaiser.
Okay, Jordan's up for next meeting,
Yeah, there's 2 people.
and then Lisa will be,
Oh, I thought it was Derek doing.
Oh, I'm sorry, it is. I'm skipping October,
Yeah, you skipped September.
September. You got it,
you two are on for next meeting. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay,
correct, sorry.
super.
Thank you.
Board recognition, the WASB just has the, if you attend the conferences or meetings and things like that, they just give you some points. So, it's just, professional development. So,
I would say it's good to recognize.
I'm not gonna recognize myself. You
I'll
can do
do
it.
it. So congratulations to Mr. Drax, our vice president, reached level 3. And, you know, how this goes is truly recognition, whether you go to the WSB convention, regional meetings, etc. And it's just an opportunity for WSB to recognize and the public to recognize too that they've gone above and beyond just regular board meetings, to professionally develop themselves and what we have to offer. So, it is a big deal. And so he will be recognized in Eau Claire on October 28th. And again, Krista or myself, we typically pass those on as they become available. And you can always go on the WSB website and again, go to events. There's typically, but we will also make sure you're aware of it in meetings. So congratulations, Joe.
Thanks.
Hold on, so
Level 3, 2 more to go until I reach the top. Hopefully I can do that. All right. Next item on the agenda is our board development tool.
So I put this on there because as a follow-up to our WSB training this past summer, these are tools that are on WSB as you learn more. Typically in the past, I've done these in the spring when we talk about board ethics and some different components. And it's typically after the new board members have taken oath and so forth. So again, there's a variety of things that, like the board audit, that I've made suggestions to. In the end, it's the board yourself and how you govern yourself. And these are some tools that are out there that have helped over the years just to see where you're at. There are some other ideas out there, and I talked to one of the board members about that, where even on a weekly basis, or excuse me, a monthly basis after the board meeting, you kind of take a Likert scale and answer that. And we did it in my prior district and how the meeting went and were there questions, and it's just a reflection. And then at the following meeting, you read, actually what happened is Krista would read those summary results. And then if there was any questions and so on. It also gave me an opportunity to, because I would look at them the next day, and then I would follow up with any board member that had any questions, that type of thing. So again, I think there's some tools that that you guys haven't been exposed to that could possibly help in the process. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention in the future.
Great, thank you.
is there a district specific link to that annual survey? Because I think when I read through there, it kind of said who or how should I take it?
Yeah, you would have to we are not signed up for it.
Oh, okay.
So what happens is we go through WSB, you get a district specific link, and then it's only so you don't see other public schools and so forth. So no, that all I did was just give you the flyer version, so you can see that it exists. If that is something that, again, in the end, you govern yourself. And so these are tools that help that in the overall scheme of things. So if it is of interest, please do let me know.
I will say one thing that they constantly harp on, maybe people at WSB is self-reflection. To be an effective board, one thing that an effective board does is reflect on how they're doing. So this is something that I would be in favor of to do after our meetings and have a period of time to reflect on how productive we thought we were or effective as a group or as an individual. So that's one of the habits of highly effective school boards is doing that reflective piece. So I'd be personally, that's something I would be in favor of.
And there's two options. One's an annual option, which WSB would lead, and then the other one would be more of a district informal option, which we were in the process. It was paper, and then they'd hand it in, but we were in the process of making it a Google form. You fill it out before you leave. It's very simple, very straight, and then it just jumps right to a spreadsheet for me to see.
Sure.
So yeah, it definitely, if you're interested in either or both, again, that's where you let me know and we'll get it set up.
Okay. So right now we'll ask for approval of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
So
Motion by Jody. Can I get a second?
second.
Second by Steve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Now we have time for our community open forum. If anybody from the community wants to talk, are you guys at a separate time? Okay,
They're gonna be presenting.
okay, Sue. Well, you can talk now if you want to. Okay,
If nobody else will, I guess I'll say something. I know Anna Mavis had sent an email to the group about how we can use our Fund 80 funds. The Hinman Park, there's a community foundation that was established to start raising funds. I think they've got 70 or 80,000 raised by the community so far. Our goal is 250,000 to raise for that. So I think as a board, if we could, look at how we can use those Fund 80 funds to support community engagement, and have a similar play space. I know our district uses that for outings and things quite a lot too. So I think it would be a good use of funds, especially kind of the nature of how we got to have such an excess in that fund. So
you did reply to that. And did you see Patrick's reply to that? Okay. In any case, I think that is something that the school board can support, if not financially, in spirit as well. I think it definitely is a good thing for the community.
She had other references that, just make sure we kind of kick the tires on it thoroughly, because I think it would be great if the city can support and if the district can support, that helps get a long ways there, because overall we can only raise so much.
I sit in on those individual meetings too, but if that's a agenda of interest, we can put it on there, because I would have some more information too.
Okay. All right, so we'll move through the consent agenda. Does anybody have any, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I have a general question when we kind of bulk all the consent. Is there a good way to kind of show, now that we've got like our budget finalized, to kind of show like kind of a burn rate? Like as we're adding head counts and things like that, are we, within the budget of what we kind of plan for on an annual basis? Or are there some things that are pushing us outside of what we budgeted for within the consent agenda?
We can't, we need to follow, so first you gotta ask for, and then.
Yeah, and then we'll.
So Jordan, your
that's-
question will come up
Just
in the
one
business section, so when I go through the budget,
Yeah.
we'll talk about that.
So,
Motion to
okay,
approve
motion by-
consent agenda.
Right, Jody, can I get a second, please? Somebody so inclined to approve the consent agenda?
I'll second it.
Second by Jordan. Okay, any questions about this, any individual item right now?
So I will point out, there's a variety of items there. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory. The one item, letter Y, is all of our handbooks. And I would make sure that you pay particular attention to those links. Students sign off on it. Parents sign off on it when they register. There's a variety of new handbooks there, including the eCampus. The one project that I had hoped to finalize by this meeting was our overall employee handbook. I was not, based on the changes in July here, I was not able to finalize. I should be able to hopefully finalize it here by October. With that said, we also had a variety of changes. The elementary handbook is pretty straightforward, and I know these have already been sent out. The high school, there was quite a few changes that were made in a very positive manner. Thanks to Dr. Curtis and Mr. Nargis, they went through and there was quite a bit of updates, similar to what Jamie did last year in terms of discipline and procedures and processes and so forth. So I would encourage you to, when you have time to go through those, because there's a lot of updates. We didn't track it there, but you'll see those. Aaron also created a para handbook that will be part of the employee handbook itself. So a lot of, again, going with our notion of having proper procedures in place. Those handbooks are critical to that topic. Any questions on handbooks or any other topic within the agenda of consent?
On item AA, the PMC property and casualty insurance. There was reference to our rate going from 0.75 to 1.0 workman's comp. Is there roughly the amount went up 10% for our premiums? Is there a time maybe I could add it to one of the future agenda items where we go through where those losses are occurring and what we're doing to prevent future claims happening?
Yeah, I would caution this board just because we are small enough where those claims can be very much isolated and identified. In terms of what happened, yeah, it was quite interesting to see how many happened last year and why our claims increased. Overall, yes, property increase throughout the nation, and you've heard those song and dances. With our workman's comp, we had more than I've ever seen for my staff in 1 year. And they were really bad luck and unique circumstances in terms of, is there process procedures that should have been in place that would have maybe prevented some of them? There really wasn't. It was more of the accident on part. So whether you call it luck or whether you just call it, if there could have been more preventive measures, the answer is no. But we could certainly talk about it. Again, the one thing that we always have to be careful around here is when we do talk about some of those items, yes, we can. And you guys know we can't talk about individual names, but they still come up. And there's only so much information we can share. But individually, I can easily answer those questions.
Sure. Okay.
The only one thing I've seen is just even if it's a dashboard of like how it happened or what, like kind of the category, like if it's, yeah,
Or is
exactly.
it in more of a lifting ergonomic type? What are those categories?
Yeah, I guess
I think that-
I've never had that question.
Yeah.
Or seen a dashboard in work comp just because
There's probably not a lot.
there's typically not a lot, but this last year, for whatever.
I would kill for that work comp rate. I don't get that. The farms don't get that.
That would increase your workman's comp.
Yeah.
A few.
So,
Give it PTO stuff.
okay. Is there any other questions about the consent agenda? Okay, so all those in favor of approval, say aye. Opposed? The motion carries for the approval of the consent agenda. We will move to administrative reports.
Wonderful. All right, on my report, I kind of went through what we did this summer and leading up into the school year. So beginning of August, special education department gets together for scheduling. This is just an important piece of our whole because it's a critical part of ensuring that our students receive services outlined in their IEPs. It's balancing those student needs, the staff availability, and educator assignments. So just really looking at that because that end goal is that consistent, high quality support and access to education for all of our students. And it really is a balancing act as you're trying to schedule everybody. So getting everybody in, and actually we use this room and we're all together and we bring Mr. Mays too, because a lot of that is shifting some of those student schedules around to make sure that everybody is where they need to be, getting what they need to get for credit wise, and just really bringing everyone together to have those conversations and even shifting some of our paraeducators' schedules and making sure that if they're where they need to be, the students, but also those educators too. Next up, I also included our CISA 5 Mental Health and Behavior Summit. So myself, Jacob Mays, and Tracy Marbach attended this summit in Wisconsin Dells. It was wonderful, and it was actually a little bit of a break too because it was at one of the lodges down there. So it was very nice kind of get away for a night. But it was bringing those educators together to address urgent student behavior and mental health challenges. The summit just provided a wonderful look at different strategies the cultural frameworks and peer networking, allowing for so many different avenues to look, and those keynote speakers and other providers coming in to offer from everything from a detective bringing in something on novel I'm never going to be able to say it. They looked at everything from Delta 9 to what could be coming in different vapes and everything to BTAM and everything under the sun, and mindfulness and yoga and everything that we can offer and support our students, and what it looks like for free time in a 90-year time span, and how many years of life that students now spend on their phones in that time frame. I mean, we looked at so many different things at this mental health summit and what effects that it has to do on brain development. So it was a very nice way to just look at all those outlooks and the effects that it has on our students now in our schools. And those long-term effects too. At the beginning of the year, we had our PLD days, and it focused, our special education department focused on strengthening that collaboration, compliance, and organizational practices so that it can last us throughout the whole year. Reorganizing, bringing everybody back together to focus on our students and everything that we're doing for them and throughout. Because we know that it adjusts every year. And as we're learning and growing together and keeping that going for those students, our families, sometimes that has to do with communication, but also offering those tools and accountability, but also reviewing the IEP and the evaluation processes so that we are set on all of our framework and compliance throughout all, because we always know that that updates, and we want to make sure that everybody's on the same page and going together for our students. The next day on the 19th, we offered a refresher because we were just about to the end of our 2-year window for our crisis prevention, intervention, and nonviolent crisis intervention training. So we had a refresher training for 18 staff members on this, and really the focus now is on de-escalation strategies. At the bottom of that, there are a couple of links that you can click on for some tips on de-escalation, and I'm trying to think of the other one that I have there. De-escalation and, no, you're fine. There's all sorts of good information. 7 principles for effective verbal intervention. So Heidi Rooser from CISA 11 came, and she is a wonderful resource for us because the key thing is preserving safety, dignity, and calm in the moments of crisis. But what she really focuses on is how not to have those situations. So what can we do to be supportive of a student that you can see that escalation happening, and what can we do to avoid it? But then, of course, there is always the holds that we need to know in case an escalation does happen. So how can we do that safely in order to avoid hurting the student and ourselves, and being safe so that we're following every legal thing that we can possibly do. And that actually goes along with our seclusion and restraint that we do every year in October. I have a report for the board that shows anything that we have done in the school for any seclusion and restraint on a student. So Heidi does a great job, and actually we just learned that we do have a staff member that is a trainer for that, so we may be able to utilize her a little bit more in the district for these things, and especially on the de-escalation strategies, because again, that is the key component there.
And you might have said it and I missed it. Was it Paris in on that too?
Mhm.
Okay.
So, actually state statute has that you need one person trained in your school. But we try to get as many people trained as possible. But to keep up on it, if we have a certain number trained, so we had at one point 25, and that was at our training, about a year and a half ago. So to keep that refreshed, we wanted just that half day training. To do a full training, it's 8 hours, and this one's about 4. So we invited everyone back that had already had that 8 hour, and then if, say Jamie needs the training, I can send her to CISA to get a full day training. To add her to my list, yep.
The other part of that is typically if you send somebody to get fully trained, and Nikki Moncello now making Nikki right, it's close to a $15,000 investment. So that is a additional perk of having this right here to train our staff, because those are not cheap to bring in, and I've always been a fan of train the trainer model. So that actually works in our favor.
Very much so. Hilltopper Hang Time, end of the summer. They always seem to do Chuck E. Cheese at the end of the summer. That's one of Beth's favorite field trips that she does with her crew. And then they took advantage of the PLD week and used that for the end of the year summer programming. Cleaned, reorganized, reviewed procedures, had a good meeting and went over some of those processes, identified any improvements and planned for the new school year. Those preparations really helped to make a smooth transition for the school year. I did not get a chance to check in with her today to see how the first day went. Steve?
I think it went, from what she told me, it went pretty good.
Yeah, Hang Time, Tiny Toppers and Tiny Tots, they all, from everything that I heard and saw, they tore everything apart, cleaned everything up, and re-put everything back together. So I think they were set. They had new kids starting and some more on the wait list and ready to roll for the year. So
New employees.
and very excited for their new employees too. And I know they put them to work last week too, getting all reorganized, so.
And she's not the only one that likes Chuck E. Cheese, because she had, I think, 67 kids with her.
Yes, they all love Chuck E. Cheese. I just know that's one of her favorite field trips. She says it every year. She goes, I did go to the one of the parks this year, but she goes, I'm going to Chuck E. Cheese no matter what. So, yes,
Okay,
I'm all set.
Jamie.
All right. Okay, so just a few little things here. Great first day at the elementary school, lots of positive energy. Those kiddos getting dropped off this morning and coming off the bus, so it was fun to see all of their smiling faces. Only had a couple tears by some pretty littles, some 4 or 5 year olds, but it was pretty good. I think I saw more tears by parents dropping off. So never gets easier for some of them. So good day with that. A lot of the classroom teachers today and for the remainder of this week are spending a lot of time teaching behavior and expectations. We spend a lot of time the first week of school doing that, reteaching everything. This is a good example. This is a not so good example. Going through all of that with the kids. I also did something new this year that I did not do last year, and I did have an all-school assembly at the end of the day. So close to 300 elementary kids in a gym can be very noisy. I'm sure they probably heard us down here in the middle school, high school, but it went very well. Again, lots of positive energy with those kids. Couple things, I think I gave you guys a heads up in July that I was taking 2 of the flex days for my staff and doing assigned training with that. So they came in the beginning of August for math standards. We've been talking about the essential standards with you guys, so we continued on and actually started that with them. We'll finish that up here in our September PLD meeting and hopefully get that taken care of, that whole process. So it went really nice. I know the staff appreciated to be able to have 1 full day to do it. Whereas last year we did reading language arts throughout the year, and it just drew the process out. Math standards are also a lot easier than English language arts because it's more just right to the point. So I think staff kind of appreciate it was a much faster process for them this go around. August 12th, that's when I brought in CISA 11. Liz Clennon from CISA came in and did our U-Fly training for phonics. She did a phenomenal job, kept the staff engaged. Staff did a lot of practicing of what the instruction should look like within their classroom, lots of conversations. So that really was beneficial for staff. I had a requirement where it was going to be K through 3 teachers had to attend. I left it optional for 4K, grade 4 and 5, and all of the staff came. So I had 4K through 5th grade there. And by the end of the day, 4th and 5th grade had already found a way like, hey, let's figure out skill groups and work on these kids that are missing the pieces. So I actually have 4K through 5th grade implementing some part of the program, if not all. K through 3 will be doing it 30 minutes a day. And I really feel it's going to give our kids the needed boost they need for phonics. I also pulled in the Secret Stories, which is just a supplemental program that goes along with the phonics instruction that teaches the kids tips and tricks of when they come to vowel combos, different things, how those vowels or graphemes are making the sounds and words. And so that has been super exciting for the teachers, and they're going to start rolling that out this week with kids and teaching them those tricks to remember when they're reading and decoding how to break apart those words. Also, let's see, this year I brought in a student pledge that we are going to be saying every day on the announcements with those kids. Very basic. I am safe, I am kind, I'm ready to learn. We're also having the kids each take the pledge and sign off on it to have ownership of it. So every day we'll be going through with the kids, and then pretty much all of our behavior expectations can go back to those 3 things. So it kind of pulls it all together. Last thing I had is we had open house last week with our students and families. We had a great turnout. I have to pull the numbers from last year for our attendance, but this year I counted 277 students out of 296 that came. So that's 94% turnout for that. So I was very pleased and happy with how that night went. So that is all I have. Any questions for me?
You missed your school theme, which I really, really
Oh,
liked that.
yes.
It was really good
Yes, and
for
that's,
everyone, right?
yes, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, thank you.
Be the reason someone smiles today.
Yes, so today in the school assembly, we talked about different examples of how we can do that and what that looks like and different things, so.
All right, before we begin the next one, I want to formally introduce our 2 interim principals. It's been a great, I would say, month with this administration team. Looking forward to the things that I can learn and that these 2 can bring, but also the camaraderie amongst the team itself has really been a refreshing component. Dr. Curtis has been with us. She met the board, and she's been with us in terms of the mentoring program and worked with me in some different capacities. She was here with Betsy Holtner when she was on a leave and did some work with our elementary for a month. It's been a great addition. She's been in the office working on, and that's the beauty of this interim piece is both of them bring unique strengths and things that I think we can take. And I introduced them at 2 assemblies today, and I stated the fact that I think they can help us take our middle school, high school to the next level. Mr. Nargis brings 19 years experience as a high school principal. There's quite a few things that I don't remember since I've been a SUP for 12 years, and it's been a while since I've been an elementary or high school principal. But just his knowledge and experiences, it's great because he walks in and he sees a bunch of kids, and he probably, like our vice president, coached them and had their parents, etc. And so he gets to use that, but it's a great talking point. One of the things that was nice today is all the administrators were out and about, and whether it was at the bus stop, whether it was for lunch, being visible is a key component. So I just want to thank both of them and my team. It was an awesome start, and I'll let the 2 principals do their report. One thing I did want to mention is Mr. Nargis will be here on Mondays, and so it made sense that he will attend our board meetings Dr. Curtis will be here, based on what is at the meeting. I'm not gonna call her in, just for the meeting itself unless there's a presentation component that's needed. But those two have really been a strong team already. I don't think they knew each other prior. And
Thank God.
you can already see that they get along. So, I will pass it over to them for their update.
Oh, you want to start or? Let's talk about the first day, because you set up this morning's activities. It was awesome with the music and.
Yeah, we had a great first day. We had all the teachers in the front area. We had music. Shane had that going and balloons just to give that celebratory welcome back vibe. And I think kids were excited. Some of them took a little treat, so we had that for them. So some good feedback on that today too. Maybe Sarah, you can add a little bit on that, but it was nice to see everybody in excitement with the first day of school. All right, and our co-interim principal responsibility, do you want to cover that? We have to link that, I think, Patrick, there you go. So we decided we would just kind of try to switch things out based on our strengths. And Richie, I don't know if you want to highlight anything.
Just the first thing, I mean, the school management culture has always been important to me, as a teacher, educated for 35 years, and a administrative leader in the building. Because I think you really got to set that tone. The leaders got to set that tone in that building and the culture. And today, both of us were hitting classrooms, we were knuckling kids, saying, giving high fives, and just getting to know kids. And I think that's important. That's the only way I've survived in education over the, I got two former students right here. Were you in when you were here?
What year did you get?
90. What year did you get?
90, I graduated in 89.
That was good. So, but it's just, I mean, that was one of the reasons why I came back. When I found this out, talked to Jamie and Patrick and stuff, and I'm like, Glenwood was a really special place. Got to meet some really cool people, families, the community was so supportive. And I thought, you know what, I'd love to go back there and try to help out whatever I can and stuff. I was retired for 2 years, and it's just it's a really special place in my heart. So many wonderful things happened in a short period of time that I was here, but it was really special for me to come back. But no, I just think that I think it's not easy to do. I talked to the staff the other day. I sent out what was that slide I just said? There's a balance between authority and compassion, and there's such a, it's a hard thing to kind of balance, because you gotta set the tone, you gotta put the line in the sand, but you also have to have compassion for some of these kids, knowing where they're coming from and what they're going through in their lives, and being able to do that. It's, even after 35 years, it's still, oh boy, I missed that one. But I think that's huge, and I think that culture is so important in the building, and that's why even today I was telling kids, even in the middle school, get involved in extracurricular, because that sends, you have more of a positive experience in your education if you get into extracurricular. And I don't care what it is, the class play, the art club, it's sports, it's band, whatever. And I've seen that in all my years that I've been in it. It just makes a big difference, and it does set the tone and help the culture of the building when kids have more invested, in their education. So, and then Patrick threw the PTO approvals. That wasn't my, he just said you're doing it. So that's why I'm doing that. He kind of divided it up, but, and I'm used to doing a lot of that, but I'm so thankful for the lady on my right here, because some of the stuff that I wasn't really strong at, she's going to be doing a phenomenal job, and she is already. And so it's so nice having somebody to work with that. So athletics, I've been a part of my life, all my life here. So I'll work with Jake on that, school events. I'm used to that, facilities and things like that. And Sue can talk about the next part.
Sure. We are trying to kind of build up our RTI, or multi-level system of supports, interventions for students that might be struggling. So we'll be working with the middle school on that, kind of taking off where Jamie has been working on the K-5 levels, kind of building that on the 6 through 8. We have the beauty of a WIN time and the PLC time in the morning for your middle school. This is a schedule that many schools wish for, and you have it. So we'll really work very hard to work with the team to kind of use that time to build. And part of that is renewing what a professional learning community model is. It's a framework. And some of the staff here were aware and some not, just because it just needed to be a refresh. So we did a little refresh at the teacher in service, and we'll be working on that. So we'll be taking notes from our meetings and agendas and building our the 4 questions. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's basically, what do we want students to learn? And here I'm blanking on the second question. What do we do when they don't learn? The next question is, how can we extend student learning? So it's really a focus on data and the information that we would use our data to help us with instruction with students. I'll be continuing the mentor-mentee program, and we'll divide staff evaluations up as we get to that. We haven't had time to really look at that just yet, but.
So while I look at that as a parent standpoint, we probably are going to Mr. Nargis for a lot of things, and a staff standpoint is going to more to you. Is that correct? When you kind of divide it up?
Overall, and I will be here on Wednesdays and Thursdays, so if there's incidents or things that happen that I
Then you're
will
gonna
be in
take over that.
communication, then we would. But we'll be communicating, and we really seem to have the same philosophy. One is holding kids accountable, and then secondly, just more about distributive leadership. So looking at the teachers already that have good things going and building them and helping them to do the things that they know and have been trained on.
And I plan on meeting with the staff. I did this for a lot of years in Cumberland. It worked really well. Just a quick 5-minute meeting on Mondays with the high school, check in, this is what's going on this week, just to touch base and see each other, I think is important. And then I plan on doing that with the middle school, because sometimes the middle school feels left out, they're like, they're not part of it. You got the high school, you got the elementary, and they're in between, and sometimes they feel like, well, am I in middle school, am I part of the high school, am I part of the elementary? So I'm gonna meet with them on Fridays in the mornings, and that's worked well, so hopefully that works well with our staff here too. What else we got here? And then Sue will meet with the middle school during their PLC time weekly. The staff in service went really well. We had 2 meetings. We had one at the first day and then one on Thursday, the last day, and it seemed to be well received. I think the staff appreciated the time that we gave them to get prepared for the kids. We did go through the handbook changes, as Patrick said, the expectations, and then the PLC model as well. Seemed to be positive feedback from staff at the start of the school year. Today was a great day. Do you want to talk about the professional learning community model, or think that's good? Yep, mentor, mentee, that's going to be great as well. Jill, Wright, and Jacob have been doing a really nice job getting that campus up and running. We have a lot of kids getting involved in that, even just some taking just one or class here, even at school, kind of a hybrid type setup. Not a ton of changes, but we did take some language out just to try to clear it up, because it just seemed to be a lot to kind of read through to kind of figure out where this discipline action kind of fall. And we'll take care of that. I think it's pretty well set now. The tardy language as well, we moved that to 5 minutes instead of 10. You know, make it to class in 5 minutes, then if you're 5 minutes late, that turns into a tardy. So kids just need to get to class. I know it's going to be quick because it's 3 minutes now passing time, but they'll get there. We'll work with them. And then with a little makeup and late work due to absences if the kid's gone or has something going on. 5-day to provide more consistency so teachers and kids know, because in the past I've dealt with this too. It's like one teacher would give a month, one teacher would give 1 day. So to try to have some consistency on when late work is due. So I think that's important, and I found that the consistency is going to be good. Parking lot duty. I had some unfortunate things happen up in the parking lot after school when I was in Cumberland, and some student get hit by a car, buses going through, and things like that. So we are now going to have a couple staff members. I'll be out there and another staff member out there with a bright orange vest on. You got parents coming in picking up students. You got kids wanting to get out of there, get to work, or just get out of school. they're coming up from the lower parking lot, got buses trying to come in and pick up students. So we feel the more supervision we have, I think it's gonna be better in that short period of time. There's a lot of vehicles coming in and out in 10 minutes. The grab and go breakfast, I think is gonna be very well. We've done that before. I think it's gonna be good for the kids to have that opportunity that maybe come in school a little bit later. They get to class, they miss breakfast, and still have that chance in between first and second hour to get breakfast. And then this is something we've worked on and we've had success, and I've talked to Patrick about it. We're gonna start out with, it's a homeroom at the end of the day, now that the resource time is at the end of the day. Homeroom, advisor, advisee, however you wanna, it's all the same thing. But the last 26 minutes of school, there's gonna be a homeroom. There'll be clubs happening that time. But for the first month, the kids are gonna stay in their homerooms, get through the updated handbook. I want everybody to say, I didn't know. So the teachers have a handbook review sheet we put together and stress the areas that need to be gone over so the kids know, cell phones, dress code, things like that, that we seem to have problems with. And that's not here, it's every school. And then they're gonna work on goal setting, expectations for the year. And then the big thing is, I mentioned earlier, building positive relationships within that group, because they're gonna be together all year. And then complete any homework assignments that need to be completed. As I mentioned, club and activity meetings will be held during that time as well, which will be nice, and it's at the end of the day. Eventually, what we'd like to do is when we get enough grades entered, we plan on implementing a resource privilege system at the that's based on attendance, based on grades, and it's based on behavior. And if kids are doing well in all those, they're gonna have some privileges at the end of the day to maybe go to the learning lab. They don't have to sit in their homeroom at the end of the day. They could go to the gym. They can maybe go to the weight room. If they have a car, if they have transportation, they can maybe leave for the day. So that's something we gotta work on, and obviously parents are gonna have to sign a sheet to allow their student to do that. So we're looking at doing that here. The only thing we gotta come up with is a system of tracking those kids and making sure who gets to go where. If a kid needs help with math, English, they'll have that access to go get that extra help with that teacher at the end of the day. So we're gonna work on that and try to get that set, but the kids, I think, seem to be pretty excited about that. We get that off and running here. The schedule is pretty well set. Jacob's gonna be working. He worked all day. Jacob Mays today and tomorrow. He'll be working in trying to get kids' schedule set. But he put a lot of time and effort into this over the last month. So I give him a ton of credit for that. If you see him, thank him. The first week, as I told him, it's gonna be chaotic, but I thought today, first chaotic as I thought it was gonna be, I thought it went pretty well. So I was very happy with the staff, how they responded. So that went really good today. And then, of course, we started off our fall extracurricular athletic season last week with a big win over Leva Strum. And the girls had a volleyball scrimmage over the weekend. It sounded like that went really well. So we're off and running, and glad to be back in Glenwood City and working with all of you. And it's going to be a great year.
Well, thank you for helping us out this year.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, personally and professionally,
Yeah.
it's just, I couldn't be more
Right.
thrilled the
Yeah.
two of you are here. This is,
So much loyal, Chuck.
we'll settle up after.
Gotta remember, he's level 3 now.
Any other questions for our dynamic duo? Okay.
That's what we're calling it.
Yeah. That'll be a placeholder till we can get something clever. Okay, so we'll move on to our business items, and this is what I'm guessing you're here for, is our senior class presentation? Okay,
Just wondering if you're taking a couple board members with you.
maybe
It looks
one.
pretty nice.
I know.
So
I
much
know.
more elementary principals, you're on our list.
I saw that, I was on the list. All right, if I can get board approval, we'll see. All right, so, is there any preamble to this, or should
No,
they take it away?
these ladies, and a couple that couldn't be here tonight presented to me, last spring, and, I'm gonna let them do their thing. They're gonna put this on their resume. So ladies, if you wanna take front and center and introduce yourself and then go from there.
Which screen would you like them in?
I will have it up, so if you wanna stand right over here, I'll have the main screen.
And we invited Landon Obermuller, was one more officer. He had late football practice, so.
Is this the one you want?
Okay.
Or the other one?
Do you want your slide up or do you want that one?
The slideshow,
please.
All right.
Okay, so we are the student government for the class of 2026, and we're proposing our senior trip idea to you guys. My name is Haley Patola, and I'm the class president.
My name is Miley Blazer, and I'm the vice president.
I'm Tessa Wagner, and I'm the class secretary.
Okay, so that's the place that we'd be staying at. Some details about it. It's a large group cabin located outside of Minong, Wisconsin. It sleeps 62 people. There's 10 and a half bathrooms. It's an hour and 43 minutes away. We would stay there for 2 nights, and we would need a school bus and a trailer to haul bags and food coolers. We would need 6 to 8 chaperones, and the trip would be from Friday to Sunday. We would leave Friday morning by about 8 and return Sunday morning by 11. And the only weekend that we would be able to do it is April 17th through the 19th.
Just some possible activity options that there are. There's a pool and a hot tub. There's a movie theater, pool table, hoops, foosball, ping pong, like etc. Those games. There's a state park nearby, so you can hike, bonfires, yard games, shoreline fishing, golfing, crafts, board games, and then just really like rest and relaxation.
These are just some pictures from inside the cabin, and then this is the backyard and the outside too. So for sleeping arrangements, we got to view a 3D tour of the house, so we just kind of walked through the cabin. We mapped out a number of sleeping spaces because it provided us with a number, but not exactly where they're located. We're planning on keeping the boys and the girls separate, and also the chaperones. So the main level, when you first walk in, it has 8 sleeping spots, and we're planning on taking 6 to 8 chaperones. So they would be sleeping on the main floor so that they have access during the night to go upstairs or downstairs if anything happens. The second floor and the third floor will be for the girls because there's mainly girls in our grade. So that's 23 sleeping spots and 6 sleeping spots. So combined together, that'll be enough for us. And then the basement and the clubhouse loft, there's 20 sleeping spots, so that will fit the boys.
So there's a clear delineation.
These are just some pictures of the bedrooms in the cabin.
And then just potential chaperones. This is not limited, or we can have others, but Miss Nichols, Angela Williams, Sue Blackmore, Angela McGee, Kim Unser, Taylor Dilling, Holly Olson, Patrick Olson, Randy Patola, Chuck Draxler, Matthew Schutz, Casey Wagner, Jared Keene, or David Coco.
Okay, so the cost breakdown, the lodging up front, we're gonna be staying 2 nights, and that's $8,284. The cleaning fee was originally $800, but we got it cleared because we'll be doing our own sheets, washing them and putting them on. So that saved us $800. Property damage insurance is $50 per night, so it'll be $100 in total. Food, we're gonna be ordering our own food from Sam's Club so that we can cook for everyone in the class and everyone will kind of be eating the same thing together. That's $1,800 to $2,000. Transportation is paid for by the school, and additional costs are to be determined if we want to buy any other board games or backyard games. So the total cost together is $10,184. Our class count currently has $13,201. So that would leave us with $3,017 for graduation and senior expenses.
All right, do you guys have any questions for us?
Is $3,000 whatever dollars? That's plenty.
Yes, we think so, yeah.
What was last year's graduation cost? Do we know?
I think it was only like 2,000, wasn't it, roughly?
Just under 2,000. It depends on the photographer price.
Oh, sure.
So I think last year they went a little lower with the photographer and only spent about 500. And then this year, if we wanted someone a little more professional, we'd pay 1,000 or something like that. So.
Really nice job presenting. The question I had was, how come you didn't put the chaperones down in the basement? That was just, no kidding. Looks like you put a lot of thought into this and thought about a little bit of everything. One question I had is, how did you determine April 17th was the only date that worked? Was that like a survey, or how did you
What
determine?
the cabin has open?
We did it based off sporting events, so what people have to be back for softball and baseball, and then prom.
For the games and activities, I don't know if you guys know, but at the library, you can check out like big test,
Oh, yeah.
or the toss game and the Jenga and all sorts of things. If you guys wanted to go check those out, they might be for free there. But, no, it sounds really awesome. And I'm surprised by how much money you guys have. Why do you have so much money?
That brings up a really good conversation. Is that something we want to get into?
My goodness.
So, I'll interject, and again, thank you ladies, did a great job. When they presented to us, last spring, it's one of those, and for those of you that don't know, this is Miss Sarah Nichols. She's our teacher, in the district, and she has been their advisor since they were freshmen. That's one of the things that we're talking about is advisors, co-curricular contracts, et cetera. From a fundraising standpoint, Ms. Nichols has kind of led the charge, but we have had a lack of, I would say, again, process and procedures about what amount is, because businesses and just different things, people get nickel and dime. And so we do have to put some parameters on that, which we're currently discussing. In terms of how did they get this money, I mean, Ms. Nichols has been a driving force behind them. And again, some of these items that come up, whether it's being prepared for prom, whether it's because the trip itself, I will remind you that when we were talking, Mr. Nargis, I asked him, did you take senior trips? And if so, what did you do? Those of you probably that graduated from Glenwood remember Beaver Creek in 6th grade. That went away, I don't know when, but it was a great opportunity. Into Richmond, we took a 4-day trip for middle school 6th graders to Camp Waffle. We stayed with 4 nights. We had individual cabins and so on, and I was a chaperone a number of years in that. So the one thing that I've learned is that these students just want to spend some time together and kind of their last hurrah. Obviously, you saw the property. It's unbelievable.
I like the fact that we actually have a schedule for what the working sessions are gonna be. It would be really nice to see, as we work towards, the next working session, which is facilities and infrastructure, right? We know we've got like a CHISA audit coming up, right? So we'll have the results from that. And then I guess, with your kind of board update, dashboard, is that, what's gone well, what good looks like, maybe key improvements or, lessons learned type things that, we can focus on for each of these working sessions. Like how do we think that gets developed to kind of build the roster of what the working session is?
For me, it's building that agenda really comes down to, what have we done? The facility one is easy. Number one, we should be taking a tour as a board. Number two, talking about all the summer. It was also our annual performance survey. As an admin team, we felt consistency would be a good thing. And so we just reworded a little bit of the first goal as we continue to redefine our culture. I think it is pretty evident what Sue, Richie are going to bring to this team, the work that Aaron has done with SPED to get our files back up in order, making sure we're doing, and then the work that Jake continues to do to rebuild the elementary program, especially from a curriculum and behavior standpoint. So we wanted to be consistent because that trend data is always the important key. And so we're recommending that we keep the 3 goals for this coming year.
Is there a way to measure? I'm guessing there is, to a certain point, goal number 1, every student every day, to measure discipline referrals or, to quantify, maybe like you had, we saw the board about the relationships, every teacher that thought that they had a good relationship with a student, Are you, we
Yeah.
can talk about some of the tools that you're going to.
Yeah.
Make the success.
So the dashboard that we talked about and approved is gonna go live in September. And we'll get to it, but to Jordan's point, there's ways to track things. And I would agree, goal number one is harder to quantify. Yet it isn't, because when you look at the pieces of the puzzle, right here, the annual performance survey, is it as simple math? No. But if you take one piece of the puzzle, because culture is not just one score, it's a whole variety of things. If you click in and you saw the performance survey results, there is trend data that we're gonna be looking at, in terms of those things, culture. So I think there's a variety of tools. Absolutely, can we pull in discipline data? Those are some of the processes and procedures that we're trying to be a little bit better at making sure we're doing, whether it's Skyward, EduClimber, we're just not there because we're formulated a baseline. I mean, if you look at tonight, this is the start of my third year, and we are now officially approving the second reading of policies. I think that tells you the work that has been put in by the administrators, but also the framework to build a solid foundation. And that's where, again, to your point, I think we can always, when we get to those work sessions and we talk about students, that's what we're gonna talk about. We're gonna talk about some of those, I would say, benchmarks, such as maybe referrals, things like that. If you walk down the elementary, unless you took it down, but it talks about the what do you call them on that board, where they pied you?
Oh, positive office referrals.
Positive office referrals, they reached 200 and they got pie Miss Schaefer. Then they got to throw balloons at us and get us wet and make us suffer outside.
This
or
year, we have a
whatever it
goal
may
of 300. We made 260 last year, so our goal is 300.
So if the students achieve that goal, what do they get?
Oh, we haven't decided that yet.
I think
Open
we
for
should've gone a
suggestions.
little
It could be a
higher.
positive one
Because
since your goal is
it
to
didn't
make students
start
smile.
Yeah.
Right.
It didn't start right away.
Right, we didn't start till like
last year, so we should've gone
October.
a little higher.
So I think those are definitely ways, Chuck, that we can quantify the behavior or culture, as you would say it. I think this year, in my 2 years, we need to have both levels, because we've talked about it, having assemblies to start the year, where here it is, here's an introduction. There's just different ways that you can build that. And I think, I was talking to Scott too, you guys follow the same process as anybody. You can walk in, but you don't have to notify me if you plan to come to school. I know that was somewhat of a understanding. Come in, I want you to see these things for yourself. Now, if you're sitting back in the class and kind of interfering with instruction, that's where I'm gonna have to step in and try to ask you to leave from that. But, those informal, I would say, walk-ins and just seeing the way things go, come down to football games, go to volleyball games, and just overall, those are definitely quantitative in some regard, because you can see how that culture is. So I feel I can give you a pretty good representation of what Glenwood City is, using those tools.
Good. I know you'll be able to, you'll just feel it. I mean, when a positive change happens, it's just important for us to get that as well.
And even looking at these survey results, they're all positive. Some are more than others, but I mean, it's not all bad.
Yeah.
Right? It's good to see that as a reference.
Great, so, any other questions? Otherwise, I will, ask for approval of the GCSD 25-26 district goals.
The metrics that are shown in here are still not adding up. We must not have had a chance to correct them, but
That, and now that you say that, I fixed it on the other one. I just pulled that from the 50 copies that I put on my file, so I'll update that.
there's some.
There's a reason to this pressure.
Yeah, I did like, about the culture aspect though, I did like how Mr. Nargis was talking about the fist bumping and the discipline and almost like a continuum of on one end or the other, and you try to find that balance, and how Ms. Schaefer is talking about, you're needing to smile every day. That environment, that culture, I think is what we're trying to, and it's hard to measure, we all agree, but.
And it's hard to change in 1 year. I mean, it starts with some littles down there.
Right.
So.
I will say this, because I evaluate, not necessarily that I'll do a formal evaluation on those two at the end, but I have received, and I hate it when people say this, where, I got so many people, they talk plural, that are saying this. I can back it up. The number of teachers that came up to me and just really talked about how refreshing they thought this PLD day was, our days were. We changed it to 4. The first day was actually pretty informal, where they just got to walk in, not any formal meetings, and get into their classroom. But to the flip side of that, the professionalism by these 4 really set the stage. And when you have veteran people that have been here for maybe decades, or they've been in other places to make those comments, and to take the effort to come down and tell me those, I think speaks very highly of where we're at, but also what each one of these 4s brings to the table. So, yeah, I'm looking to take that next step on many levels.
All right, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the 25-26 district goals.
Make a motion.
Motion is by Jody, can I get a second? Second by Jordan. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Item E, our policy set approval.
So this is twofold, as we've been talking about. Last meeting, we approved the complete array of policy. This is the second reading, so if you have any changes or concerns, this is the time, because our policy, if it's a new policy, it requires 2 readings. Now, in the future wise, if the policy is based on some grammar changes, it only requires 1. With that said, the next one is the resolution, so we have to do both of these separately. So I'll start with the second reading. Is there any questions on the second reading of the policies in general?
And I know in the past, we talked about how we as a board review. I know there's a lot to review, and there hasn't been a ton of structure of who's reviewed what. So I guess, do we as a board feel that we're reviewing the first and second readings with enough detail around some of the important areas, such as finances, like we talked about a few months ago, to really make sure we're reviewing well enough that we're confident we're making the changes that this board and this district need? Not necessarily today, but kind of in the future, like we talked about too, right? Should we be reviewing with more detail as a board?
I will say I read through them, the ones that you were talking about in particular. It seemed very comprehensive. I don't have the knowledge and expertise that Patrick does and the team that he worked with on it. And it's fair to say this didn't happen in a bubble, right? You didn't just do this all on your own.
No, I think if the Neil, I did have Krista start with me. This is probably, I can't tell you how many meetings within the last 2 years. The unfortunate part, to Jordan's point here, is that we find ourselves where not only did you lack policy, you had outdated policy. And that's why you spend money to invest in a third-party contractor like Neola. Now, legally, that covers you. Now, was there a lot of decisions that I made? Yep, we want to go with this. Yep, we want to go with this. Yeah. Part of it stemmed from me doing this process in Richmond. And so I would pull in my finance director, I would pull in my HR director, I would pull in, from a curriculum standpoint, we talk about it as an admin team. The purpose of this is to create a baseline. Now that we have a baseline, you definitely are there's gonna be things that come up. This is not set. And you are going to have to, what they call, district-specific policy. Like, it's just Glenwood City-ize it. Because some of the policies we had in other districts, they don't apply here, or there's just a different component to it. So this truly is just a baseline. Do you want to get to the point of reviewing? That's the old committee. I would say no, because these are the governance that are set by the board. But one of the things I'm trying to institute around here is that these are here to protect us. These are easily one of the better tools as an administrator. I'm not picking and choosing, quite honestly, and I've said this before publicly. I don't know how he or others did it, because he must have been picking and choosing how he treated people and how he addressed situations. Because when the policy is there, this is what we follow.
Yeah, I would be more concerned with the fact that we've lacked so many policies. I mean, I brought that up in a board meeting before I was a board member. Well, so yeah, start with this baseline and then we start digging into some things as we come across them. It's so much better than having none.
Yeah, but it'd be nice to start setting that structure and that cadence of review or Q&A, kind of the same thing like if we're doing our working sessions. How do we keep a log? Because I know we don't want to change policy as we run into instances, right? But how do we record those instances where then we can have that feedback into our policy as a district, right?
Yeah.
So I
And
think
you certainly can create the number one business item every month is policy review. And as you went through the month with my updates or anything, did anything come up? And just have a setting number. There are things as we get going here where I will be tying each discussion or a business item to a pillar or to a strategic. We're just not there yet. But we certainly can, again, if policy is more of that review and you just want it as a constant, I would say we could actually put it under the board piece too. And it could be similar to the audit. Yep, I had this, which then offers up an opportunity for board to just, and it's a standing agenda item, to bring up any policy for discussion.
or even if we just rotated through all of the
Yeah, right.
1000s, 2000s.
As soon as it's printed, potentially have a date, right? So not only are we already doing this year, we're already next year, and year after that, year after that. So every month we have, here's 2000s. Next month.
That's how they used to do it. Nowadays, when you get to a policy, so at the end of the year, on every quarter, I get an update from Neola. And then I will bring those updates to you, and it's basically a spreadsheet. And it talks about here's what it is, here's what it says, here's what we recommend changing. And then you guys get to change it from there. So that's the purpose of Neola, because they have the expertise. Yes, I have the expertise in terms of having done this for 12 years, but in the same regard, the state statutes, federal government, law changes, case studies, all those things. And that's why we pay Neola to keep us up to date and protect us.
Is a continuing agenda item something that you would like, or is that something that, you want it more targeted than that?
I think doing something consistently, I think would show really well, and help us reestablish that trust with community as well, right?
I agree. Would that be something where the individual board member would say, you would talk about the financial stewardship piece, where you would look into that part of policy by your own choice?
Yeah.
Or would you like it to be something more
Together.
or together, or would it be like, I am assigned to have policy 1000-2?
Yeah, I wonder if we just do it in the 1000s, 2000s chunks and just have it on kind of the similar as our financial audit, and we as a board can kind of do our homework and maybe do a quick review and just see if anything maybe stands out, right?
There's
It's
9,000,
gonna be-
so, or 10,000 officially, because there's zeros. So if we did that, we basically in 10 months would be through. And what I could do is I can put it under the board meeting. So instead of your recognition and popularity of
Yeah.
WSB,
Yeah.
I could put in there policy review 1,000s. Then your job would be to go through it. Some of you may have questions, others may say, nope, and you just move on.
Yeah, and I don't think, we don't have to have any resolutions to fix anything, it can kind of be Q&A too, and we can say, hey, what do you think about that? And just, I think would it be a good open discussion around just policy referring, right? So I think that'll help a lot, to be honest. And make a motion to establish that as our ongoing policy review?
I don't know if that's necessary.
It's not necessary right now. What is asked, and again, my job is to make sure you guys keep on track and not go off. So this one, we're asking just for the second reading. But for me to add to the agenda has already been noted in the notes. So I will just add it in there. Next month, September, we'll focus on the zeros. And then each month we'll build up. And your job would just be to review if you want, and it's on there, and so we're not breaking any governance laws.
Unless you're level 3, then you have to come with a policy memorized, and you have to recite it to everybody without skipping a single word.
Could be.
Okay.
Duly noted. Okay, is there any other questions about the approval for the policy second reading? Okay, so right now I will ask for the approval, a motion for the approval of the new GCSD policy set the second.
I'll make that motion, Jeff. I
Uh,
think I'm the
motion-
only one talking tonight.
Motion is made by Jody.
Motion then.
Can I get a second, please?
I'll second that.
Second is by Derek. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion is carried. So now we are at item F, approval of bylaws and policies of the school district of Glenwood City Board of Education resolution.
So for this, and you could say as printed, but this is a true, I don't know how many resolutions you guys have done over the years, but resolutions are a little bit different. And yes, as soon as you approve this resolution, then all the policies that were prior are no longer, and all the new policies is what governs this body.
And it will be a roll call vote.
Yes.
Just take a minute to read it. Anybody have any questions about this?
So this is basically establishing the new policy after we, formally reviewed our 2 readings, right?
Well, again, the biggest thing that this does is it looks at the board docs, because if you go to board docs right now, and I can pull it up, you can see how inept our policies are. And basically this wipes away all these, or whatever this is. It's done. And the new policy, which is in the draft, and tomorrow Krista presses some buttons and the new policies will be uploaded. So this is the final piece, and that's why I require, especially a resolution. If anybody has any disagreements, but a resolution is that next tier when it comes to board approval.
So right now, I would entertain a motion for the approval of bylaws and policies of the school district, Glenwood City Board of Education as presented.
Why are you looking at me? I'll make that a motion as presented, Chuck.
Motion is made by Jody. Can I get a second? Second by Derek. And this is going to be a roll call. So we're going to start, we'll say yes or no, or abstain. Steve? Yes. Jordan? Yes. Derek?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Jody?
Yes.
Scott? Yes. Okay, the motion is carried. Thank you. item G is a health insurance, in lieu of insurance policy review. This is something that, Steve had brought up to Lisa and I, and we weren't exactly clear on, you know, what our policy was or what the handbook might say. So we wanted to bring it in front of the board meeting, you know, to talk about this today. So this is something that, was instituted from this side of the table. So, we want to get into that a little bit.
I would like to just point out, you know, this is not something that I'm bringing to the board. This was a board requested item. If you look at it, my internet is down on this computer for whatever reason. But if you click into it, it clearly states how this policy is interpreted. And so from a standpoint of this in lieu, I put in different information. Number one, I'm gonna have to restart my computer, but if you look at the administrative side of things, there's a spreadsheet that shows what our cost is per district that take in lieu. I did a summary for Dunn St. Croix of how many schools actually have in lieu, which out of the Dunn St. Croix, all of them have in lieu except Spring Valley. Out of the ones, the Spring Valley, take that off the table, everybody else has in lieu at a certain amount that varies, and they do include spouses, so we're different in that respect. Spouses and dependents are basically in the same category according to the feedback that I got. I will publicly say that I definitely am not, I wasn't interested in bringing this to the board because it would be beneficial to me, because I happen to have a spouse in the district. Based on the previous superintendent, I was not comfortable bringing something that would basically give me an advantage financially. But in the same regard, I think it's a policy that needs to be discussed for other reasons. And so I'm just gonna turn it over to you and what you guys would like to do with it.
The question I have, so, yes, section C, any employee who qualifies for participation in the district group health insurance plan may waive such participation and elect to receive cash compensation in lieu of the health insurance benefit if the employee is not covered by a district health insurance plan. I'm assuming the employee we're talking about is covered by a district health insurance plan.
Yes, to your point, Derek, and I'm gonna reference the email that Dr. Kaiser sent, in terms of her statement. Yes, I was made aware of when this individual was hired. When you look at the policy, it clearly states that this individual would be under a family policy as a dependent, and that's how it's stated, and that's how it's interpreted.
And that's consistent with any of the universities or other state of Wisconsin that I'm familiar with. I happen to have a resource that's very closely aligned with benefits in the state organization. So I would say that language is consistent, so I'm not sure why there's confusion on applying this policy accordingly.
Well, I think, to me, that there's a confusion of, because it speaks about, a lot about spouses.
That section does not speak anything about spouses. Any employee who qualifies for participation, that's any employee, spouse, dependent, regardless,
In
right?
admin,
Speak black and white.
Where was the?
Which one, Patrick?
Part where it's
it's in admin.
section E.
Yep.
or something about- No, there was something else that we said. Was that in a policy where it was saying spouses?
It says right in this.
In another
it's on
letter.
there. But in section E,
Yeah, okay.
it talks about both spouses are employed by the district.
Okay.
And are eligible for health insurance, the employees shall be eligible 2 single plans or 1 family plan. The premium contribution for spouses shall be no different than the premium contribution for similarly situated employees whose spouse does not work for the district, such as the following options exist for such spouses subject to the eligibility of insurance carrier.
Do you understand, you know, what Derek was saying about items? What was the one there?
C, A employee.
I do understand that, but I look at it as if I'm an employee at the school and I take out the insurance and I take out my family coverage. So myself, my spouse, and my children would be covered under the health insurance.
Correct.
So if my spouse works somewhere else, they would get an in lieu of if their company offered that, right? So why is it different here?
Because the difference that in lieu of is for the health insurer, because they don't have to provide coverage for said employee. That's why they're paying that money, because they don't have to provide the coverage. If they're providing the coverage, they're not gaining anything. Therefore, why would they pay out and provide the coverage? That's the difference. If the other employer, in your example, was providing coverage, then the benefit is that company that's here isn't providing coverage for said employee.
Okay, what if it's the same health coverage? You know what I'm saying, the same, like, health part, right?
Yep.
And if I work at another place and we have health part,
Well, the intent, right, Affordable Care Act, passed in 2010, says we have to provide coverage for all employees. If you've got employees that are just picking and choosing whether they participate or not, then it's discriminatory, because people may choose that, hey, I don't want to participate, I'd rather take the 4,000. Well, what happens is only the people that would stay on the plan are people that have health problems, right? Everybody else took the cash. Well, pretty soon you have a health plan that you're providing that becomes really expensive, because everybody that's on it has previous or health instances that are coming in. So that's, I guess, the nuts and bolts of it is, this is not in lieu of. The people that we're talking about have health coverage, they're getting it. Section C says, therefore, they're not qualified for any lieu of.
Is it helpful to discuss whether or not we want to offer in lieu of spouses or family members that are not currently qualified to get it?
Well, if they're not qualified, then there's no need for a new one, right?
Well, I should say that, so if 2 spouses work here at the district, one of them doesn't get it.
Right.
We can do that if we choose to. Is that something that we want to look into offering? Well, at the cost of $30,000 a year for the 5 affected families. You know, in an individual case, or not, what maybe brought this to the forefront, in one way or another, I agree with you, Derek, that it's spelled out there pretty clearly in the handbook. That's not to say that we can't decide to do it a different way.
But it would be at the cost of the district.
Yes, absolutely. So, yes.
Just a reminder, we're all here as a board to represent the district. Our purpose is to provide an education for children. I think what we're doing right now is getting a little bit off of the rabbit hole, and we're using time to benefit certain individuals and getting away from our core purpose.
which is to educate the kids.
Well, and I understand that we do have, you know, that's our core purpose, but we also have a responsibility to our employees and, you know, and to the taxpayers.
And our employees are getting the health care that what we're talking about is
right.
giving financial incentive, additional financial incentive to employees. We're not talking about taking care of them.
Yep.
There's a difference.
Does anybody else have any other discussion matters about this or any other questions or clarifications needed?
The only thing that I will say in our superintendent meetings that have come up in the last number of years since Obamacare was the goalpost has changed. So individuals now can be under a dependent until 27.
Even if they're married.
Yes.
26.
Yeah. 26. So, you know, though there's different things. Like I said, my job was to put together the information so that it's in front of you. This is certainly in lieu of, came about more recently, just because you could see, and Deb put the spreadsheet together. If we were not offering in lieu, what our cost would be. So there is definitely an incentive. And that's why I wanted to not only put a spreadsheet together, but also tell you, you know, what other schools are there. You have the ability to take the policy and frame it however you want.
I think your point there is if we were to not do the in lieu of and what our insurance cost would be is one thing, but with this instance where we're not pursuing the in lieu of, we're already incurring that cost, right? So it's not really a benefit to pay for it twice, through insurance and through in lieu of.
There's no approval of anything. This was just for just policy review, provide some clarity. I think to summarize, I believe right now it's the board's position that we are acting in accordance with the handbook and see no reason to change what we do right at this time. Am I being clear? I'm kind of stuttering a little bit.
Oh, that's okay.
We got the board handbook out there, but and it certainly can be discussed. I mean, but it would be a change and it would be a cost incurred to the district. If we're okay with how things are, we don't need to do anything. And maybe we'll have some disgruntled employees one way or the other, but I think that the board is pretty clear in this employee handbook. If there's anything else to add, I don't have anything else. Okay. Yeah, he does. He's got bad timing over there. All right, we will move to item H, GCSD 24-25 and 25-26 budget update.
So I don't have a lot of changes since my update, so I actually just reposted my summary from July board meeting. The one thing that has just come to our attention is the projection of the equalized value. That can be a huge piece to this puzzle with when we set the levy, which you will get a precursor at the end of the meeting next month. What I will point out with the equalized value is I'll do some comparisons and we just got this and we're going to throw it into the bear forecast model, and that will give us a better understanding. Our job at the end of the meeting, and that's why I moved it from when we traditionally had it. To Jordan's point, yes, it would be great to have some type of pie, and it kind of shows you how much you're spending, blah, 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 but there's so many facets of, I don't even know how that would work because you have so many different, funds. Now, it could work in the regard that, here's Fund 50, 38, 39, 10, et cetera, and it shows you, how much you've used, but you're always gonna be behind. What I will say with the equalized value, is property value. We unfortunately get hit a little bit harder here in Glenwood City because we're still part of St. Croix County. And those numbers actually have ticked up, overall. And again, I'll throw that in and you're gonna have a very detailed model when it comes to the annual meeting and next board meeting. Is there any questions on, that I can explain right now in terms of equalized value, what that is?
I don't know equalized value, but when we talked to Baird Marquez, he had mentioned the two things that went down for us that was improving our additional funding, because those deductible receipts that went down were the ESSR funds, which was basically COVID funds going down, so everybody probably had that. But then also, what went down was the insurance claims. Is there any way to know what those insurance claims would have been that would have got removed from, that went down a couple $100,000 that helped us? Because our percentages, right, all the way from primary, secondary, tertiary went down, but because those deductible receipts also went down, our funding could go up, which I'm assuming is what a lot of their school districts didn't see.
Yeah, restitution, unfortunately, the whole Tim Johnson situation. So I filed, when we were doing our investigation, we had a $200,000 rider on fraud. And so we received a prorated check, based on insurance. And that was, again, to our benefit. That restitution is in that overall number, and that's a number that I've shown you guys, and you'll see it again.
Yeah.
I think we're over, I know we're over 850,000 in restitution from Tim's situation. So specifically, that would be, the other part of that, I would say, Derek, that plays into it is, 2 years ago, when I first started, we had straight line wins. I'm surprised EMC just doesn't say SECA. We don't want to even be around yet. Because you add in the straight line wins, which at the time, again, it was a lot of work, but it was a huge benefit. We got to replace a 1992 floor. We got to do a variety of things that just uplifted our facility. The first year I was here prior, as a teacher, there was a flood in the tunnel, which then seeped up into the classrooms and got it was cabinetry and so on. So our claims have been through the roof. And thankfully, we've established a pretty good relationship with EMC. It went up everywhere, but ours didn't go up as much as I thought it would. But to your exact point of restitution, I think that's where some of those numbers come in.
Makes sense. Thank you.
But overall, as far as budget, I don't have any other updates unless you guys do. But again, next month is going to be a plethora of more concrete numbers. Please note that we don't get our final numbers until October 15th. So it's very difficult to project, but we have a more clear picture. I talked to the staff about compensation, just from a standpoint of we're going to follow the same process of what we did last year. I feel much better about now that Deb and I have had a year together here and trying to clean up a variety of things, to where our budget is pretty on track. You can see in my update, we overspent, but you can see why. And it's pretty clear from back pay to just different things of why we got to that point. So again, if you get asked in the public, because I have that rule where my job is so that you guys don't have surprises, pull that document out. I think that could be very helpful for you to say how is the district doing? How are you doing in terms of your overall spending? What are you spending it on? As I stated, there's a variety of things that I put on the agenda that I probably normally wouldn't have, just to build that transparency. But is there any questions on any of those documents, or from last month's update? I will have a trend data to show you the evaluation and how it affects our district specifically, which I'll present at the annual meeting. Derek is gonna be gone. He has an activity, running a marathon, in another country, for that. Is it another country?
Yeah, it's Germany.
Germany.
I tell Patrick I'm gonna be gone, and he basically responds with, you had one job, to do this at the annual meeting, you're gonna be gone.
So
Thanks-
I
thank you
will,
for coming.
I will present, which I normally do anyway. Sally just, previous, she would go through it. So it's all right, but, yeah, we'll go through and you'll be able to see, hopefully we answer taxpayers. We had some positive feedback last year in terms of the detail that we go into to try and explain, because school finance is not easy to understand.
I think that's why I asked about kind of like the burn rate and when we have some of these other, agenda items, and it just seems like every month there's 5,000, 10,000 here. It's really hard to paint the picture of, is this within the forecasted budget, or are we extending ourselves with the things that we're approving, that are in some of the consent or other agendas? That's
To
what I have a
that,
hard time
Jordan, I think if you click on this model, and I've said it before, but I'll say it again, I don't know how Glenwood really went through this process without this, but this will take you through everything. This spreadsheet is on steroids, and basically those questions. Now, when we do get to the fiscal work session, this is what I'm gonna go off of, and I'll go into detail. But I think with what you're seeing, yeah, there's no easy pie picture, just because there's too many separate entities.
It's gonna be more like a fuel tank and it's just.
Yeah, and you have multiple fuel tanks because there's different budgets and so on. But that's, again, a process that as we get to learn about each other and the board, how do we quantify? It's easy because it's a budget, but what does that represent and how does that look? But what I would encourage you is anytime I make a change to this forecast model, I'll give it to you. But again, you can get lost and spend days in it, which what I've done, but that's over a course of my 12 years as a superintendent. But don't be afraid if a question comes up. I will try to pinpoint. Derek asked some good questions, and in that instance, I didn't know the answer. So we got Marquise to answer the question, and it was specifically to that insurance component.
Ready to move on? Okay. Item GCSD transportation fleet summary.
All right, so we unfortunately, last week, we had our plan, for those of you that don't know, the state trooper organization actually signs off on our bus and they do our transportation inspection. And Ryan got a call that morning that there was a major accident in the state trooper's vicinity, and so he couldn't come, so he rescheduled it for today. Unfortunately, we have a transportation fleet that we've been talking about for the last 6 months. We're sitting pretty good in terms of our fleet, and I'll just bring it up as far as our inventory of what we have. We made some major changes last year based on statute. We have vans that don't seat as many. We have some outdated vehicles that, again, due to Ryan's expertise, we're able to fix and so forth. So we're gonna be coming up with our facility plan. We're gonna come up with a vehicle replacement plan that makes sense. The unfortunate part is, from our bus standpoint, we're having those discussions. And we just recently lost a transmission in our 2000, it was bus number 11. No, I'm sorry. What did I put? 16.
Yeah,
It's a 2004, this one. And the transmission went, and the conversation was, Ryan, tell me how many we have to have in our fleet. So we have 7 buses that go out and offer transportation to our students. The other 3 are used for activities, whether it's field trips, whether it's co-curriculars, et cetera. We had 11, now we're down to 10, which is kind of our, according to Ryan, and Christie's news, so Ryan's information. The bad part about that is, there's a wrench in this whole thing, and that is, the decision by Tim to purchase a bus with Fund 80 monies. You can't do that, number one, and if you do that, which their reason to remedy is you had to, and I don't know where they were told this, but it's not accurate, you needed to keep mileage and so on. So we're trying to, it can only be used for community use, which means tiny toppers, hang time, et cetera, can use it because they're Fund 80. Well, then the district would have to pay Fund 80 or the tiny tots to use that bus. Doesn't make any sense because that's for a bus to sit in that manner. Plus, when we were going through this whole process last year with investigation, it should never have been approved. And again, it's not your fault, but you can't buy buses with Fund 80 money. Even to the point where let's buy a van, because we talked about that. No. So that poses a problem that within that 10, one of our buses is a Fund 80 bus. So I'm working with DPI to try and say, okay, we were in an unfortunate situation. There was a mistake made. Can we somehow, the district use Fund 10 to purchase that bus for a depreciated cost or whatever, so that it's in our fleet? So we're still working on that. But in the same regard, based on transmission, it's not worth putting in the 2004. The transmission, according to Ryan, I think it was 4 years ago, they priced it out and, it's $8 to 10 grand. And to throw that into a bus that isn't worth it doesn't make any sense. So we also have a bus, I want to get the number right here. We have a bus that's on its last leg, and if it makes it through the year, we'll be surprised. And that is, I believe, 10. And so, again, I think the likelihood of us bringing a bus to you for approval is very high. And so I did put a bid or a quote in there and to see what a bus goes for. We talked about this through, but again, 100 and roughly, typically you would go 76 passenger, we're looking at 155,000. So I just want to put that on your radar. I have a very draft in terms of what the evaluation went today. He has some fixes that he needs to do. It's a very thorough job, and I always bring that back to the board so you can see what the bus evaluation looked like and what they went through. And so we should be good. Ryan thinks that he can get those fixes with the 4 buses that were identified. They were pretty minor. And one was a brake line that they kept. It's like they knew it was gonna go, and it did. So he has to fix that. So overall, we have some fixes in that regard. So I'm not asking for anything in terms of approval tonight, but know that the likelihood of us having a bus purchased this year is very high based on recent events. Any questions?
Can you remind us what the lead time is on the bus?
We actually could have bought one last month.
Okay.
Because sometimes they have wherever they are. Some schools have got into the specialty piece where it's LP, that type of thing. Normally, yeah, lead time is pretty extensive. It's not like it's go to the bus lot and clear it all. So you just never know. We could have, that day, he's like, we have one, Bluebird has one. You want to pull the trigger? No. I gotta go to the board for this one, so it just varies.
would it be helpful if we approved it, so when Hooper does have one, you can pull the trigger?
Yeah, I don't know where, like I said, and that's the discussion. I'd be more comfortable. I should have an answer within the next week to say, can I just transfer? You know, they know our circumstances. We were on the naughty list for DPI financially. They understand that there was mistakes, they understand there's charges, and there's a level of forgiveness, to where we don't have to track and we could just maybe move it. I wish it was that easy, it's not. Can we get by? Yes. I want to see what the final evaluation says too before we make a decision, so it might be in front of you next month and I'll have some more data.
Do we get any quantity break if we need to get two? Because I mean, the next newest looks like it's only a year newer, right? So do we get, you know, a 10 or 20,000 break if we buy two of them?
I don't know, but what I will tell you is that now that we have really, we've been able to push off a referendum, because when I was first here, I was at saying, we're gonna have to go in a year. It is certainly not best practice to go off of fund balance money. And so I am much more apprehensive. When we get final numbers, I'll feel much better in terms of giving you a true recommendation of where we're at, especially since we haven't settled compensation wise either. I don't know the answer. I'm guessing yes. If you buy two, they'll give you a little break, but
That's a level 4 question.
I think as we become, it's similar to what we're working on with Frank. We're doing a computer replacement plan. Facility wise, the same thing. You know, you're gonna see these things that if we follow this, of course, we always have surprises. But in the same regard, let's have a plan in place. Any questions on transportation?
All right, the next one, item J, the stair undermining.
All right, so I think, you know, it's a common theme. You know, when you have a lot of things that haven't been addressed for years, you're gonna start to see things that just creep up. And again, I don't want to sound but really like a broken record, but I need to bring it up for rationalization. We found ourselves 2 years ago where things weren't evaluated. We didn't have state permits in 2018. And when you leave that lack of maintenance, and I actually talked to Bob Swanepoel a couple times, and I just said, I want you to understand that when I publicly talk about this, it's not a reflection of you. Because anybody that knows Bob Swanepoel knows he poured his heart and soul into this building. He was just told, no, we don't have the funds, we can't do this, we can't do this. But we all know if we do that to our own houses, what's gonna happen. We're starting to see those. Derek and I spoke about the rooftop units. We have 29 rooftop units that were the cheapest on the market, and a lot of them were bought in 2016. And they're starting to go, and you approved one tonight for the tune of roughly 13 to 15,000. That adds up very quickly. And there are definitely more efficient ways to do that. We also talked with the market, contractors in that area, and they said you've got basically the cheapest model you could possibly get. And so they're not gonna withstand and hold up. With that said, this one, same type of thing. Some of these things have just been ignored, because when you ask people, you know, is this happening? Yep. What happened? How did you fix it? Didn't. Just swept it up and moved on. Unfortunately, all the earth underneath the stairs is basically washing away with big rains. And we all know that we're having more of those. Why am I bringing this to you? Is because if we don't do something and we have to replace that, we will no longer be grandfathered in. Right now, that stair is not ADA compliant. And we know that that's basically, other than the true walk around, that's the only way that you can get from the lower lot to the upper lot. If that thing washes away, we are now in tune to 3 times as big of a stair, including a ramp. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but you're talking about triple the cost. And so what I'm telling you is that this came about because this washout was very visible after we got the parking lot done. And we're like, where did that come from? We knew some bits and pieces, but not to that degree, because we just didn't notice because the parking lot was in tough shape. So I would say be prepared because I'm getting quotes right now to how we can fix that. Now, it could be minor, it could be major. I don't know how much washout is there. The part that scares me is that if something like that would go, so does the grandfather, and we would have to completely redo that section to incorporate a ramp back and forth. So it'd be 3 times as wide as what it is now at 3 times the concrete cost. So I would rather fix it if we can. So next month I should have an update on that. So I just wanted to provide you guys with an update in this meeting. Questions?
Parking lot looks nice.
Yeah, I thought they did a really nice job. You're gonna see some pictures, if you haven't. I think the pickleball courts, the basketball courts were lined. We did some different things, but lots of compliments at the football game. Parking lot. The new herringbone, I think opens things up a little bit too, with some of the drive. So we're not finding ourselves in situations like Richie talked about where kids are getting hit. It should open up the lanes even further. I'm working with an individual to take aerial shots because it's kind of like a common. You got one shot at this. We redid the entire parking, every black surface in our district. So we're coordinating it with a friend of Krista's, with also the grass being clipped by Ryan. We're going to get some nice aerial shots of our district to utilize future marketing, et cetera.
On this, I'm assuming we couldn't get the new format quoted, just a ballpark idea, unless we had some type of drawing or rendition.
It would have to be a state. Yeah, I mean, they could probably, throw me a ballpark.
It would be nice to know what the cost of this fixer-upper is compared to the cost of a new.
Yeah. It really became a discussion when we did the punch list for the parking lot, and that's where we were talking with CISA 10, and that's what the conversation has been. So it's currently not in the audit. We're gonna put it in there just because it came up, but again, I want you to be aware this might be something where I have to pull the trigger pretty quickly, just based on we know where the rains have been. I mean, torrential rain seems to be common now.
And then just one final thought, because Jordan's alluded to this a few times about how we've got a lot of these unexpected things come up. And so it's like a known unknown. And so is there a way, or would it be beneficial that we look at all of these instances that have come up that wasn't in the plan, that wasn't in that capital funding plan? We say, okay, we spent $100,000, $120,000 on these. I'm sure it's much more. But then we say, okay, we're gonna do an accrual of $10,000 every month. So now because we know it's coming, right? We look at the way we've invested in the facility in past practice. We look at some of these other instances. So do we just set aside that figure based on what we've seen every month? So then when it does come and you come to us and we're like, yeah, how much have we already accrued for? Oh, we already got 30,000 there.
Yeah.
So for this 40,000 expense, it's only another 10 grand out of the fund.
It's like a budgeted contingency, and as we consume it, then we kind of know, hey, we're out of, now we've got to reach into another pocket somewhere, right?
Typically, that is how that's how I have done things in the past, where your capital improvement is your biggest pocket. Because, you can't foresee, personal piece. My furnace just went out. Did it something that I expected? I knew it was getting up to that light, but you gotta pull the trigger. And so when you look at our overall budget, when we set it at the annual meeting, you'll see that expenditure be our biggest pocket. But what's very different from previous years is there's not pockets in phone. There's not pockets in some of these other areas that are concrete costs. These are pockets knowing that things are gonna happen, natural causes. But also, to your point, we find ourselves with more just because we're trying to catch up. And that's what I find myself talking too much, because I'm trying to rationalize, like, you might be saying, why are these costs coming up? I mean, are you not taking care of things? You have 5 years where things were basically not addressed. It's gonna catch up with you, and unfortunately, we're seeing some of those lately.
But I think, can we do stuff to stay in front of it too? We kind of track it, because like here, if we fix it, do we need to grade it so that the water doesn't go that way again? And then are there other foundation areas or concrete slabs that we need to go look at and say, are we grading correctly? Maybe we just need to go.
When you see the financial audit, you're gonna be, number one, overwhelmed. Number two, you're gonna see the figures and you're gonna be like, whoa. Chuck, win the lottery and we'll be good.
He's level 3. He doesn't need the lottery.
I think we'll end on that. I can end the item on that point right there. Okay. So communications. One here. Thank you. Your support in my future career is highly appreciated. Can't wait to pursue my future career with the help you have granted me. I will be attending the University of Wisconsin River Falls to study animal science. My plan is to become a large animal veterinarian. Thank you, Elshra Mike. Okay, our schedule of meetings. Next is September 22nd. That is the budget hearing at 6 p.m. with the annual meeting to follow. I'd also encourage any of you that want to come with on October 28th to Eau Claire. I'm planning on attending the regional meeting there. I think we just tell Krista if we want to go, not just let Krista know if we want to go. I don't know what the deadline is for that, but we'll figure that out. But put that on your radar.
Chuck, not to interject, but just, so the budget hearing is at 6. The annual meeting follows, and then the September meeting follows.
Oh, yes, sorry. It's the regular board meeting.
Yes.
Sorry.
And I try to keep the agenda as light as I can because you're gonna be sitting through a variety of presentations, et cetera, but I can't make any promises.
Okay, this time I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that a motion.
Somebody said it over there.
Oh.
Can I get a second?
I'll
Second?
it.
Second by Jody. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.
And just one final announcement, the board has graciously always provided, it comes out to about, 8,000 of apparel that is for every staff member. We've made some changes to where you can go online. That shop closes tonight. So if you look at any correspondence from me, if you're interested in a $50